the links to join the channel here over at SubStars now over at Odyssey. Thanks everyone over there. So, former Black Girl Gamers Gothix exposes their hatred. What? Why are you using... Is it one of those pronoun people or something? God, I hope not. For the beautiful people of the light, the HuWhite people, masquerading as diversity, inclusion, equity, which someone said deity is Dios, short for God, of course, from Larry Fink, which is short for Moloch. So, Black Girl Gamer, and I got to admit that this Gothix chick, has a kind of a cool look. It's this schoolgirl, but with like the BDSM elements. You can look at her Twitter. It's kind of fun. Kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, when did they start? It was like when goth segued out from the 80s into something kind of kinky. Maybe that was kind of more recent. So goth girl gamers, the thing is, if you want separate spaces, which is what they're outright saying, that works both ways. So the lay of the land is John Trent has got his website called New Park Palace or something like that, a Park Place, and he was from bounding into comics. And there's a lot going on here: racist hiring practices, violating federal civil law, and probably more that can be said on YouTube because it involves conspiracy theories, which I absolutely love. And for some weird reason, YouTube has censored a lot of those channels. YouTube is not the place, believe it or not. If you're just recently, YouTube used to be a whole different beast pre-2016, 2017. Used to be a lot of fun. And actually, the YouTube censorship is involved in that network of conspiracy. Pouring out for Isaac Cappy. All his videos disappeared. Odd. So where to start? This little piece of the puzzle is Black Girl Magic or Gamers or something, and a hiring practice that violates civil laws. But it's putting a good question on the table. That's a little bit of a politically incorrect question, which I'm using that question to troll people on Twitter, which is just so much fun, other than the death threats. So it seems like there's a percentage of people who want their own spaces, which is fine, but people see it and they realize that, oh, maybe that's actually a good idea. Like all this endless fighting seems kind of pointless, and that maybe everyone should have their own spaces. Because, as people are pointing out, myself being one of them, you can't have it both ways. And how to explain this to somebody who thinks it's just pretty straightforward? It should be straightforward. You make the video games, and then you market them, and then you sell them, and you one would think, and one would be wrong, that you're making video games, comics, movies, whatever is in pop culture, catered to your audience, and you'd be way, way off. Like, I'm trying to think, like, how would you try to explain to someone who just, popped out of a coma in the past 20 years or 30 years or 40 years and tried to explain how, you want to know how really weird things are and how dangerously far into Weimar we are, is picture it that way. Try to look back in, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and put yourself in that head frame, and then explain the difference in pop culture now. You guys, oh, that sounds like full, Bolshevik propaganda, like out and out propaganda. How come you guys are still paying for it? It's like, well, that's how you boil the frog very slowly. You get people to accept all this kind of bread and stuff. No, you understand. I gotta have new product, and then after I pay for it and the dopamine rush goes away, they introduce the next product. The thing is, you don't just make games, market them, and sell them, because the globalists have entered the chat. You have these Anita Sarkeesian, Zoe Quinn types from 2014 Gamergate, or I think 2013 was the Depression Quest. What a name for a game. And then she did a comic book. I forget the name of it. And then her boyfriend deleted himself because I think she accused him of something horrific for Zoe Quinn. Anita Sarkeesian just threw herself a birthday party, wedding, 41st birthday party in Sweden, and she dressed like a bride, and she didn't marry anyone. It was just a birthday party. It's just the deepest, darkest, most pathetic thing I think I've seen so far, at least out of the Gamergate crowd. I mean, I guess the guy's self-deletion, that probably beats it. Honestly, you look at this group of people from the 2014 Gamergate crowd and realize, these are what sociopaths look like. Yeah, those are highly functioned sociopaths. So if it's too bad they couldn't have stuck around and made it to current age. But and then the um the globalist puppet master types, they look at Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian. It's like, well, why would we hire you if we could just get somebody who's above you in the oppression hierarchies, like a real POC? And that's what they did. And the next stage of that is probably trans. They just couldn't keep feminist frequency going long enough where they turned off comments. And YouTube, you can thank them for turning off downvotes because Biden got placed into office through, I'm sure, a totally fair process. So they turned off the downvotes because people were seeing they didn't want the public to see how the disconnect between what CNN, MSNBC, and what your government was putting out, and then how people were responding to it, because the cattle would start to catch on that something was very, very wrong. And plot twist, something is very, very wrong. But feminist frequency turned off the comments, and that's 90% of a channel is people arguing in the comments. And they could have stayed on longer and made more money from these monetized videos if they had just let comments on, but they can't allow anything against the narrative because that's how fragile their worldview is. It just absolutely gets destroyed when you allow a vigorous cross-examination. So they went out of business I don't know, a couple months ago. So this is the next generation of grifting cringe. No, games don't need diversity consultants. That's just globalist cancer that ruins the games. Feminism, diversity, whatever these people are pushing, not this chick, she seems pretty normal, but the other grifters are pushing, the Zoe Quinns, the Anita Sarkeesians, I think there's another one. Whatever they're pushing is just absolutely, you want the opposite of it. And you definitely don't want a game called Depression Quest, because that would be a game that would probably make me self-harm. So the thing is, people notice these Sweet Baby, these, I don't know what you call them, political commissars, Frankfurt School political commissars, Sweet Baby and Black Girl Gamers, and they noticed the games that they were associated with, the games that they had worked on, and that started the ball rolling, because that's there are more than just one of these Larry Fink diversity inclusion groups. So the oppressed gamers started to create lists so people could just save their money from all this diverse feminist cancer. And you would think, well, why would Sweet Baby be offended that people are saying, oh, here's the games that these globalist political commissar Sweet Baby worked on, and that upset them? Like, oh, that's targeted harassment. No, it's just like saying a car company comes out with a car and there's like an aftermarket. I mean, back in the old days of cars, they used to like body on frame, and I think they just made the frame of the car, the engines, the transmission, all that kind of stuff, and the body and the interior was done by a different company. And it's like them saying they want to stay in the shadows, which is obviously very suspect. The thing is, no, they're not proud of their work because it's all a bunch of, globalist left-wing nonsense. It's woke. I love saying woke because they get so triggered by it. The thing is, you don't even know the definition. It's like, well, however we use it is just our definition. Gamers don't want this crap, but the companies keep pushing it. And that's, I think there's got to be a name for this where, like, they know, we know their line, they know that we know their line. It was Yuri Bezmenov or something, to put it out in the public eye that something is very, very wrong here, and yet these people keep doing it. I will say there's people on Twitter now who are finally starting to get it, and there's this new chick comic who's remarkably based, which means they're probably going to assassinate her. So to this specific issue, John Trent, formerly of Bounty into Comics, now with the Park Place, did an article on the idiots at Black Girl Gamer where he showed their racist hiring practices, where they just wanted people who look like them, and the idiots got triggered, and they said something about they're going to sue. No, they're not going to sue, because lawyers cost money, and the absolute defense to defamation is the truth, and all this is out in Twitter and in archives and screen capped, and it would show up in discovery anyway. So you could start with, if you want to go down the defamation thing, start with New York Times versus Sullivan and work up to probably the Covington Catholic case would be a big case. And I think they probably settled out of court for probably $500 million about the elements of defamation and similar torts. That's kind of part of the Comicsgate was interference with prospective business advantage, aka what do they call it? Tortious interference is the other way for Zach and Mark Wade. So the other issue is this growing tribalism, which is great. I'm not hypocritical about it. They want their own gaming safe space. Okay, great. But the thing is, that applies to everybody. And when I say this on Twitter, I'm just holding up a mirror. I'm saying, okay, but all these other groups are also going to want their own safe spaces. And they start getting passive aggressive because they don't have a counter argument. If you have black girl gamers wanting to work around other people of their tribe, cool, but don't get triggered if you have European Americans who want to do the same, or Asians or Latins, and everyone wants to have their own tribalist safe space. And it's like, oh wait, no, that's not fair. But you people are the ones who put the rules on the table. It's like, you want to play this game, everyone is eventually going to play this game. Because, you simply can't have it both ways. People see that things are not, people are not getting along. It's like, okay, well, whatever Black Girl Gamers is working on, we don't want any part of. And that's the most powerful tool you have, is to simply spread the message and do not pay for any of this kind of stuff. And honestly, I think that kind of this is going to be the future of pop culture, is this separation concept. Because people are so tribal, it's better to just make smaller budget movies and games a little bit and just tailor them to specific racial identity groups. I don't know. I was going to say if they do it with like chick flicks, but the Marvels and Madam Web and Black Widow, whatever, those have females in the lead, but those are not chick flicks because that's not what chicks are on board with. Barbie was a chick flick, but all these other movies are not. So it's like a chick flick is like, I don't know, like a romantic comedy or fried green tomatoes, or even the Barbies, which was it's telling, I don't know, like the modern 20 to 30-year-old feminist everything they want to hear, and it has two beautiful, the whitest of the white people you could possibly find. And they're on stage and everything is looking beautiful. And then there's the background feminist message, which women have to pretend to care about. Anyway, and the thing is, okay, so what they're doing is they're self-racially segregating. So all I do is hold the mirror up on Twitter and say, oh, yeah. So what these other groups are going to do it, you support that, right? And they get so offended. But it's like, but that's literally what you're doing now. You're saying you want to work around these other black women. Okay, so Asian men will want to work around Asian men. White men will want to work around other white people. You get the idea. And they lose their mind over that. It's like, but you're the ones who started this ball rolling. And it is what it is, It's like, just make movies for different people. Are they going to do that? No. But Hollywood is, I think you're going to see a fundamental transformation of Hollywood in the next 5 to 10 years because movies are just not what they used to be. Anyway, where this goes, I don't know. Don't buy their games and let them, let the ball be in their court so they have to fire them publicly or something. That would be hysterical because there's no need for these sensitivity readers, these go-betweens, these Nina Jankowicz's of video games. You can just make the games. The Asians just make the games. So there is a thing with the Japanese communists are getting upset over manga. Maybe that's a separate video. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.